Okay, so done. I think I may have finally cracked doing the builds in a reasonable period of time. So you guys are going to see. So one of my things that I discussed with this build is getting the time down on how long it takes to actually build these things. One, so that we can do them on video and they're not these 2.5 hour videos. Okay, they never got like hour and 45 to 2 is how they tend to be. This one, with this component I'm shooting now, it's probably going to be like an hour and 10 minutes or something like that, which is the fastest I've done yet. And I think we're going to get more people that watch these the faster these builds get. So let's see, does this help to open this? Not really. Okay, this one isn't really tinted. So, final build that we have here. We have a X299 based i7 7800X, I think, 7800, whatever the heck they call it. It's a 6-core, 3.5, I think. It's 3.4 or 3.5. I didn't really look that close. I think it's 3.5. We did all RGB, so we got a full 5-fan kit populating almost every slot, which is how I like to do it. I don't like leaving empty fan slots. We've got a kind of a cheaper Thermalright AIO. I've used a bunch of them. They work great. There's nothing wrong with them. And go watch any of the big name reviewers. They'll say the same thing. They're actually really good. And you can now put an AIO in your system for under $50. It's crazy. We've got a ROG, Republic of Gamers, GTX 1080. One of the nicer 1080s. Visually, it's probably the nicest 1080. Performance-wise, it's probably in the top 2 or 3. You can't really see it here, but I've got a 500 gig NVMe M.2. I've got a 500 gig hard drive. We've got my standard that I do now in the low-end builds, which is 24 gigs of RAM, which it is running properly quad channel. I've got a matching stick in one channel, a matching stick, dual channel. It's running properly dual channel, I believe. I've got a matching stick in one channel, matching stick in the other channel, so set of sticks, shall we say. A little bit of RGB RAM. It's not the rainbow style RAM, which I thought it was. I didn't realize it wasn't, but it's fine. It looks good. And then I think this is a dark flash branded case, but like I commented on in the video, they discontinued the case shortly after I bought this one, which is really unfortunate because I actually really like this case and would like to keep ordering more of them, but you know. So here we go again. So on this one, I think I'm going to actually try to properly segment. I haven't been able to do it quite right just because I'm kind of all over the place with these builds. But as is generally my technique now, I am going to do the cooling system first. So we are doing my standard up here branded fan kit. I like these because I like the ring look, where it has kind of the ring of light look. I like that. Some people like it. I've seen some people say it looks cheap. I like that look. I mean, I would argue that the most expensive Corsair fans go with that look. So I would say claiming that look is cheap is kind of idiotic, but to each their own. This case, I don't even know what model this thing is. So I believe it's made by a company called Dark Rock, maybe? It's actually, so I picked it out because it's got you can kind of see the hinges for it here and here. It's got a hinged glass side panel. I like hinged glass side panels honestly, I like just hinged panels in general. Hell, I'd take a non-hinge, or I'd take a non-glass in hinged. And I did some research, and I actually specifically chose this case. Gosh darn it, is my mic working? Hello? Okay, it is. It almost looked like the, let's see here. Okay. I thought I was getting audio off the camera. The camera, the mic on this camera is okay, but I really prefer to use the mic on my add-on mic. It's a little bit higher quality audio. So anyway, I chose this case specifically, and then 1, 2, 3. Oh, wait a sec. Wait, does this need 6? I think this might need 6. Let's see here. It does have slots for 3. Oh, I wasn't even thinking about that. You know what though? I don't have to have. I was thinking I needed 2 matching on the AIO, but I guess I've got a bunch of non-ring style fans. I could use one of those if I wanted. So even though it's just a cheap brand fan, I prefer to have the logo facing out properly. I'm not a fan of. Oh, I guess you could put more of them there too. This little case has a bunch of fan options. It's kind of funny. I didn't realize it had this many options. So we're gonna do, I think, 1 here and 1 there. Yeah, so I specifically chose this case. I actually really like this case, and I was gonna buy like 5 or 6 of these and do a number of my personal builds, the builds that I use for demoing hardware on my channel with this. And then, like, as soon as I realized I wanted more of these and I went to order more of them, they were discontinued. It's like, really? This always happens. I've got a nice little mini ITX case that I like that's the exact same situation. Trying to keep this right in the middle. Trying to do better so you guys can actually see the build. Keeping it just right's kind of a pain in the butt, though. Keeping it kind of right centered where you can see it. Here, let's try this actually. Zoom out just a little there. You still see? Yeah, we're good. Okay. Yeah, so then I decided that that I preferred, actually, I wonder where are we even going to stick that thing? Probably right here, maybe? Yeah, I'm thinking we're going to have to stick the controller right here, because I don't think this is thick enough to host it there. So I think right there is where we're going to have to go. So I'm thinking, yeah, run these down that way. One of my goals there too is so that you can always see the ring, because it kind of defeats the purpose of these ring fans if you can't actually see the ring. Yeah, so I decided for my own builds, I was going to switch over to using older Corsair, like 2012 generation, like 2012 to 2016 generation Corsair Obsidian cases. There's just some stuff I like about those cases for my builds when I'm doing builds for demo. Like, I really wanted all of the builds. So if you guys see any of my demos on my channel where I demo various different sets of hardware, I really wanted those to all be really nice, like Corsair brand RGB builds so that they'd look good on camera, but I just decided that I needed certain case features more than I needed the builds to be pretty. So I decided to nix the idea of having all of them be a bunch of super pretty RGB builds in favor of overall feature and cooling centric builds. Okay, so that's that. I wish they had, I guess I could do this. I could run these. It's got the fan mounts on the back here, and I mean, I guess I can run, I could run them just straight through there. I would put fans on those, but I'm not entirely certain as to how that would affect the airflow. I feel like if I put two fans right there with these fans here, you would just suck down that airflow and decrease the pressure of that air. Maybe I'm wrong on that, but I feel like that's kind of how it would end up going down. So yeah, I'm not down for that. Okay, so then we're doing one of these cheap Thermalright AIOs. I'm going to do a video on these eventually, but I've started using these even in my own builds because buyers prefer them, in my experience. They look generally better in the builds, especially the RGB builds, because I find that if I don't use an AIO, what I find happens is if I put a big air cooler on it, it kind of just gets in the way of seeing, because you just got that giant block right in the center there, and it gets in the way of seeing the RGB lights. And not only that, but for high-end builds, even mid-range, gaming builds in general, I feel like, let's see here. Okay. We're going to do the power supply as part of this too, I'm thinking. So I want this. I'm going to want this to sit basically right here. So I'm thinking, yeah, just like that. So I'm going to pull, interestingly, these things have surprisingly high quality screws on them. But we got to pull these off, and then we're going to put our RGB fans on. I have so many of these Thermalright RGB fans now that I could build like 2 whole systems with them. I'll probably do one here pretty quick. I'm not a huge fan of the non-ring fans. The ones like these, where all they do is the whole fan, the fan blades are translucent like this. I'm not a fan of that style. Again, maybe other people disagree with me. I think I personally feel like the ring look is a more refined look. And maybe I'm wrong on that, but it makes me wonder why a company like Corsair, for example, would have their highest end fans have the ring look. Like if that's not what people expect on high end, then why is Corsair running that? I mean, it's kind of dumb, but that's kind of the way I look at it. Okay, so we want to make sure that the wires are going to come out right there, because we're gonna have all these wires pre-run, and so if I do this, if I get this the way I'm wanting it to be, what we're going to be able to do is we're going to be able to just drop the board chip RAM right on there, then put the video card in, and the build might be basically done. I would very, very, very much like to be able to get these builds down to like an hour a piece. It's not even about cutting out quality either. Like, I would like to get the builds down to an hour a piece so that even if I put as much time into the builds, I'd like that time to be able to be spent testing, not building. Building's easy. Testing is a little bit harder. And the amount of time that it takes on these builds also is making it so that I can't produce as much content. And it's making it so that it's a little bit more of a chore to actually set these builds up. And that's contributing to me only achieving about 1 a week. At the end of the day, yeah, we're only hitting about 1 a week. And I'd like to get that up to 2 a week because, if nothing else, I've got so much hardware on hand now at this point. But the fact is, like I'm selling systems. I've got almost every build I do, I turn down. Now people, I know the people on the local market who try to get me to go down on price are gonna just think I'm saying this just to say it. But like some of these builds, I mean, most builds I turn down 1 or 2 buyers. So typically the builds I do sell usually within a week, but very, very often faster. Very often the builds I do will sell within a couple of days. And on those builds that sell within a couple of days, which is most of them, typically I turn down at least 2 buyers in addition to my actual buyer that ends up buying the system. And I really would like to not have to turn down buyers. Like, that's like the worst thing you can do as for like business is turn down buyers. Like, that's people who want to give you money. Hell, even on the builds that I'm not really making any money, I would rather not turn down buyers because even a build that I don't really make any money on, the bottom line is that that's money I can put back into parts for more builds. And that's more builds that I can put on my YouTube channel. I wonder if this has... Sometimes these will have the right screws. Yeah, this has... Yeah, coolness. Okay, so to make this look good, it has these flat-headed screws. So let's see here. You see that? Camera's... the lighting's a little bright, but you can see it. What's going on here? Well, that's interesting. Okay, that's as far as we can go with it. I have kind of a certain way that I like to space out the RGB lights. Gosh, darn it. Because you're only putting so many of them in there. I think I might have a couple of RGB strips for this one too. Gosh darn it. So I do apologize for any of the tediousness here. As I've said before on these builds, here, let me zoom out a little actually. As I've said before on these builds, my goal is for you to be able to see the whole build. Okay, where did I put that screw? There you are. Now, if you're not putting fans on there, these AIOs do literally just screw with standard case fans to the case. Darn it. You really want to leave these screws all loose until you actually get all the screws in place, and then you tighten them. Okay. Just to make it look good, I'm going to do all of them. So I apologize for the brightness on the lights. I really have, at this point in time, I don't have quite the level of lighting control that I'd like. Well, that only has 6, okay. So I really only have the option of too much light or too little. And I find that generally, by and large, if I have to choose between too much light and too little light, my preference is generally going to be too much light. Okay, so we've got our 5, so it's going to light up. This whole dang thing is going to light up. I might put another non-matching RGB fan down here. I haven't decided yet. Okay, so then let's put in our power supply. Nice Corsair CX750. Yeah, I wish the company that maybe I should look, but I don't think the company that makes them sells these ring fans on a on an AIO. But once it's done with the tempered glass and the swinging side panel and all that, there's actually going to be a really nice build. Okay, so then let's just put that in there for now. This case is a little cleaner than my normal cases. The reason for that being that I bought this case brand new, and it's only basically just kind of sat there. It never really got used because I ended up making some major changes with the build long before it could really get used, so. Okay, I feel like I'm missing something, but I don't think I am. Okay, so let's do that. Okay, so then let's put our I/O shield in. Oops. The wires from the fan got in the way there a little bit. I'll have to zoom in just a little again. Let's see. There we go. So you want that like that. I guess it's more that way than this way. Okay, so then so another part of the reason I want to do the whole build on video with these things is because I get people all the time that tell me, oh, you do this wrong or you do that wrong. And I'm like, well, then go watch my YouTube channel. And I've got like 10 years of me doing PC builds. I think I do have PC builds. I didn't used to do them quite as often as I do now. I used to only do a couple a year on video. I liked to do one like every 6 months or so, just because back then I wasn't trying to show every buyer every build. Back then I just wanted my average buyer to be able to see my average build. This is actually a pain in the butt here. Yeah, back then it was like every 6 months, the way that I did the builds changed a little bit. So I was like, okay, I'd like buyers to be able to kind of see how I do the builds. But now I like the idea of being able to point at this and actually show every single build. Especially, man, I'm trying to see if you can actually see. I mean, you should be able to, I guess. Let me see here. Is this manual focus? Okay, let's zoom in just a little. There we go. Okay. I did actually consider keeping this board chip and RAM combo. I made the mistake of selling my ASUS Sage X299 and 9820X 10-core combo in a build. It was just before, it was like 4 or 5 months ago, and I hadn't actually really like decided firmly that I was going to jump in as heavy as I have into like GPU collecting. And so at that point in time, I wasn't quite I wasn't planning back then, just a few months ago, I wasn't planning on doing like the 4-way SLI builds and stuff that I'm doing now, and that build would have been perfect for that stuff. Let's add, just while I've got it here, let's add, looks like it needs a standoff for the SSD. Okay, so we'll put that in so that I don't have to try to do it later. Bam. Okay, so now we can just drop an SSD on there once we're ready to go. And then let's do this. Let's put this, well, no, let's do this in a minute. Let's do, I'm thinking I might do, I'm going to try on this build, I'm going to try doing all the wiring before I run zip ties and see if we can get to where we're only doing a couple of zip ties. I feel like the amount that I'm doing on these is just totally excessive, and I'm a little bit worried that as nice as it can look, I'm a little bit worried that I'm making buyers' lives a little bit more difficult long term by the way I'm extensively cable managing these things. Like, we want it to look good, but I don't want it to take my buyers hours to pull one wire off of a system if they need to. Okay, so let's do that one. And like I said, we have got to get the build times down. These build times are psychotic and they need to change. So, okay, so I'm thinking this. Let's see, where do I want you to go? Probably right here. As usual, our front panel audio is in that back corner. Right there. Oh, right where I put it, too. That's nice. Now, the next question is... Okay, so it does look like they switched over to... Oh, no, maybe they didn't. Did they switch over to the... Oh, wait, I think they did. I think they did switch over to the newer style front panel connector. It's just they still have some other options there, too. Okay, coolness. Okay, so let's at the very least, let's zip tie this one here. Actually, we'll do it right there. Okay. What are we at? 27 minutes. Okay, we are actually, I think, making good time on this one. I'm thinking I may attempt to just bundle them all together using using a Velcro tie and just be done with it at the end. Okay, so what do we got? Still trying to figure out where I was going to put. Oh, you know, I was going to put that. Okay, yeah, that's going to go there. Boom. Actually, you know what? Let's grab some Velcro ties. I wasn't even thinking about that when I started. This might be my new standard build style. Okay. Do we want to just, you know what? For now, so we'll just add items each time. So we'll just unvelcro them, add another item, and that'll just keep them kind of out of the way. And then once the build is more or less done, then we'll look and see how it's looking, and then we'll finish it up. Maybe I'll put in, well, no, I think I like the idea of just doing a bunch of zip ties. Okay, so that's that. That one's probably going to have to go on the very top. So let's okay, so let's do this. Yeah, that's going to have to go right there. That's the only real place that that works. And let's actually, where is, there's a little bit of dust on top of that. It's not terrible, but you never want to stick something to something that already has dust on it. You're going to get less adhesive capability. Like I said, it's not bad, but you don't want to have less than you could have. Because obviously I want this to last. Let's pull that out. Okay, so that's on. And then we're not using this because the board does not have onboard whatchamajigger. The board does not have onboard RGB, which is what that would have been for. So, how am I doing? 16%. This is going to die on me here. Darn. Okay, so that, let's do, well, let's see. These ones are the longest, so let's do these first. It's actually, I should have done these before. It's not going to be impossible, but it's going to be a little bit more of a pain than I was originally planning. Guess I can go in like that. So we got 5 fans. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. This fan controller can run up to 10 fans. So if you decided to do like just a totally nutty, out of control build with this, you could. Like if you wanted to do an absolute crazy amount of RGB with this fan kit, you could buy. These are only like $40, $35, depends on the deals, which is, I mean, it's $40, but that's not very much compared to what a normal, like a Corsair setup would cost that much per fan. I know, because I've done them. So you certainly could do a setup with 10 of these and run them off of one controller. So you don't have to have you don't have to have multiple controllers up to 10 fans. And the other cool thing with these is that one of my original reluctances with, oh, there you are. Okay, so where did that fan thing go? One of my original reluctances with these was that you couldn't control it with the motherboard or connect other stuff to it. You now can, which basically corrects my one complaint with these cheap controllers. Okay, I'm going to stop the camera. I got to put a new battery in, and then we'll continue. Okay, we are back. I did do my minor, where does that go? My minor mid-build cleanup. Usually that's right there. Does this not have? Oh, interesting. This doesn't have USB Type-C on the board. You can get it. You can get adapters, but it does not have them. That's interesting. Okay, so let's kind of fold that up in here. So what we're going to do, just get that one out of the way. So we're kind of doing the same thing we normally do here, where we get everything out of the way. But instead of zip tying down every single individual cable, we're doing this more of a bundle style. Now, there are some aesthetic benefits to my normal way of doing it, but quality of life could be a lot better. Okay, let's do that. And then, where are you? Oh, you're right there. Okay. We got one here, one there. Do I want to go down? Let's see here. No, I got to do that one. Okay. This has a backwards facing. My mic working? Hello? Okay, it's working. So I've got a direct connector that connects directly to my camera for the mic and like pairs with the camera. And so sometimes I feel like it looks like it's not working, but then I check it and it is. Okay, so we're gonna put that there. Boom, okay. I'll figure out what to do with that later, but I'll probably kind of tuck that in down there. Okay, there's that. And then okay, so let's do one of these. Okay, let's pull you out. And then let's see, one of those. So this will probably go through here. And then we're probably not going to use this, but I'm going to leave it here because somebody may end up installing something that wants Molex power. Molex power is still fairly common, so I'm going to leave a Molex. You guys are literally watching me learn how to build at speed in real time. Okay, so we've got the Molex there. Somebody can grab that later if they need it. But for now, I just want it out of the way because we're not going to use it with this build. Most stuff that I'm working with now uses SATA power connectors. They've moved a lot more away from that. They've moved a lot more away from using, shall I say, using Molex based, because most of the time, I think long term, I think it's probably intended to move away from those completely. Okay, boom. Okay, that's gonna go in there. You guys are going to see my head for a second. I can't even see. Where's my flashlight? There you are. I'm getting glare just wrong off of there, so I can't actually see. Okay, so it should be the way it's normally. So we've got power switch should be top. Reset switch should be bottom. Oh, come on. Reset switch. There you are. And then looks like they're both, the power and hard disk drive are both facing the same direction. So it looks like I kind of like the cases that have these all bundled together, but I also kind of don't like those cases because Fantex does that, if I remember right. That's really a Fantex thing, but the problem is a lot of the hardware I work with is old enough still that it's not to the new style. So pretty much all of the boards have moved to a standardized front panel header format, but I do still get quite a few boards that are old enough to not have that, as well as some reasonably new boards that also don't have that, just because a few were kind of late adopters on that one. Okay, so that is going to go there. Okay, so the first recording was 30 minutes. What are we at? 7:19, 37 minutes. I don't know if we're going to make an hour, but I think we're making good time. Okay, so that's there. Let's do this. What's going on here? There we go. Okay. Pull that out. And then we'll do this. We'll kind of bury this over here. And once again, we have one more thing to add to that. Bam. Okay. Hell, this might be all the way I want it by the time we're done, and we may just leave it the way I have it. I'm thinking next time I do this way, I might do 2 bundles instead of the 1, but I do think I like this method. That'll have to be done as well. I forgot about that one. Okay, so then so if it sounds a little funny while I'm doing the the AIO install, it's because I'm going to actually put that up as a separate video on a how to install this specific. I've done enough of them. I think I can do it right now. So, where did I put that dang thing? Gosh darn it. Oh, there you are. Okay. Okay, so let's get started on putting in the AIO. So we're going to want, got that in real good. Okay, so we're going to want it like this. So we're going to want the rails that it attaches to, top and bottom. For X99, I'm sorry, X99 and X299. This is X299, but it's the same install. It's these kind of large screws with the really, this is an unusually large size thread. The only thing I am aware of that this threads into is the integrated backplate on I'm guessing X79, X99, and X299. I believe those are the only things that this threads into. It's a larger, as far as I know, it's a larger threading, larger diameter threading than anything else in a computer, to the best of my knowledge. Okay, so that's that. And then you're going to use these two. And this is the Intel ones. This actually is set up for multiple different Intel sockets. In this case, obviously, we are X299, but this is set up, like I said, for several different Intel sockets. And then these, screw that in. It's funny because the first time I did this with one of these Thermalrights, I kind of screwed it up, in spite of the fact that it is the simplest thing on the planet to not screw up. Okay, is it right? Do we have threading good? Okay, so it'll thread in. They included some thermal paste. I'm going to use it. I don't have any, unless it's not enough of it. There might not be enough of it. You know what? That is funny. Okay, so my professional recommendation is going to be do not use the Thermalright paste. Maybe it's just a drier paste, but trying to... did I put my thermal paste? Oh, there you are. No, that's not what I want. Trying to use a thermal paste that's as dried out as that is, it's kind of a pain. It's going to be a pain in the butt for you to actually spread it. So I'd recommend against it. Even this really cheapo thermal paste I have is going to be a better option. So now keep in mind, these old Intel HEDT chips are fairly large on the, whatever you call that, the IHS. And so you do need quite a bit of thermal compound for them. The way I'm doing it right now that you see me, where I've got a little bit of plastic on my finger, that's one way to do it. There are other ways to do it. Sometimes they even come with a little spreader that you can use. In this case, though, this will work fine. I've done this a few times. It works well. Okay. I used to prefer just one big dot in the center, but I'm not sure with these larger die sizes if that's really the way to do it. Okay, so let's get this out of the way. I got everything? Yes, I do. Okay. And make sure you remember to peel this off. Everybody makes that mistake. I have made that mistake many times. And then see, am I going to be able to run? I guess we'll find out. Trying to decide how I want to run the cabling. Trying to think. Yeah, it's going to have to go down that way. It'll either be long enough or it won't be. We've got, so this thing has RGB built in. I would like to use it just because it, I mean, look, if you're going to do an RGB build, do an RGB build, right? But that being said, this particular build has so much RGB in it that if I end up not being able to get the cable far enough, it's not that big of a deal. Okay, so that's on. And then this has 2 plugs, actually possibly 3 if it's got an extender. Yeah, it's got 3. So it's got, is that going to be, that might not be long enough. There's a very good chance that that is not going to be long enough, but we'll find out in a minute. I don't think I have any extenders for that, unfortunately, so we'll see what it does. What's going on here? It's caught up in the memory. Okay, so now, does it have, sometimes it'll have a labeled pump and sometimes it won't. Okay, let's just run this to a random. Okay, so we're going to separate these. Now it's, oh, you know what? Ooh, I didn't even think, you know what we could do though? I know what we're going to do here. We're going to use, because the fans always have things like this too, so what we're going to do, we're going to actually use one of these Thermalright fans. If I do this right, yeah. Okay, so we'll be able to plug it in, 2 things into that. So it's actually going to be kind of a pain in the butt. I'm not going to be able to show this on video either, unfortunately. Not very well anyway. So what we're going to do, I knew this was going to be an issue, but it's just, it is what it is. So we've got on the RGB controller here, on the very front, on the very top here, there are 2 standard addressable RGB headers. So what we're going to do is plug into one of them. But you know what? Ooh, this might still not be long enough. Darn it. Let's see. Is it long enough? Let's see here. Okay, it might be. Depending on how they have this wired, it might work. Okay, so then they have... This is going to be a pain. I think I got it. Got it. Okay, so there's that. And then if I have this the way I want, see, I was thinking there was more length than there is, unfortunately, on that extension. Okay, so let's do this and that. And this one will be mostly invisible. In fact, we're going to bury it way down here. I'm not going to be able to connect 2 screws, but that's okay. We're going to bury it way down there so that you can't really see. Damn it. Okay. We want it buried down there so you can't really see that it's not a matching fan. All you'll see is the glow from the RGB if I bury it deep enough, which is how I want it. I want RGB coming out there, out of that slot, but I don't want it to be... Well, we're going to have to do that other thing first. So let's see if there's enough length. So where is it? Okay, so it's going to be just barely enough, I think. Let's see here. You gonna do what I want? You know what though? That's not gonna work. Okay, I guess, wait, I wonder if I could do, let's check one other thing. I might have one other option here. So, I had a bunch of these splitters. No, I've only got the, I've only got splitters for the standard, not standard, the old style. So the 4-pin, the non-addressable, I've got extenders for that, but it looks like I do not have extenders for the newer, but that's okay. As I said, we have so much RGB. I would have liked it to work, but it's not a big deal that it doesn't. But let's try to think if I still want this fan. I'm thinking no. That's going to complicate my fan setup, so I'm just going to undo that, at least for now, unless it looks really terrible when I'm done, and then I'll put it back. But so that's that. That's gonna, is what it is. Okay, so then let's put a couple on this just to keep it, trying to minimize my zip tie usage, but we need a couple here to make this look good and stay in the place where I put it. I think I might be able, yeah, I think I can get away with doing one here too. I am going to put a hard drive in here, but I think I can still do that. Okay. And then this is going to go over here. You see, yeah, you can see that. Okay, so this is for the pump. This is the liquid cooler itself. So I believe all of my, yeah, they're all up in the corner there. Unfortunately, the labels aren't visible, but let's go with the center one there. No, let's do this actually. That's the one that's different, so let's go with that. Okay, we're good there. And then let's put in our memory. I believe if you're running dual channel, I believe you run these ones over here first. Okay, bam. So we're good there. And then we're going to put in the star of our show, our ASUS STRIX 1080. I'm trying to move towards newer, even if they're not RTX, I'm still trying to move towards newer NVIDIA and AMD cards. And so these aren't the last, these are not the last GTX 1080s I'll put in systems. But I may not as actively seek out 1080s as I did in the past. Having a 1080 in your build used to be kind of a credit to the sale. Now it's more of a liability, so I can only do it in these mid-range builds now. They're good cards. I mean, they're damned good cards. I mean, to be totally honest, like 99% of what I do, I can do on a GTX 1080, especially a GTX 1080 on a really fast modern build, like a 12700K. Oh yeah, more than sufficient. The problem is people don't look at it from a absolute standpoint of, okay, a GTX 1080 is this good and this good is good enough. They look at it from the standpoint of, okay, a GTX 1080 is this good, but an RTX 3080 is this much better. Like, they don't look at it from an absolute standpoint like I do. And this is why I love collecting hardware, is because it's just so much fun loading up, you know, a 15-year-old set of hardware and saying, yeah, I can have fun with this. I don't need the absolute newest stuff. I can have a ton of fun with this. Okay, let's see here. Of course, that certainly doesn't mean that I'm not buying new stuff. I mean, you can find my stuff on the channel here. I do have an RTX 4090. Like, it doesn't mean that I don't buy. I'm not one of those people that's like, oh, I only want old stuff. Like, no, no, no. I like both. There's fun to be had with ancient hardware, and there's fun to be had with new hardware. But I'll say every bit of hardware that I ever get my hands on, whether it's new or old, I am always able to find a game that it can run that I enjoy. Okay, so I think we should be able to turn this thing on now. Let's see here. I feel like I went too fast. We're not even at an hour. 26 plus. No, we're right dead on an hour right now. Okay, let's see here. That'll go there. So I think we're good. We should be able to just plug this sucker in. Let's see what happens. Now, this hardware has all been pre-tested. So if it does not work, if there's something wrong, it's because we have a compatibility issue or because we have a defect that was created since it was tested. Okay, and let's do our that and that. Okay, so what we want to have happen, oh yeah, I guess I got to put the SSD in too. So what we want to have happen is we want it to come on and just give us BIOS. That's all I really need right now. And it might turn on and off a couple of times. What do we got going on here? Oh, that's funny. I didn't, okay, it's good. I didn't hook up the fan controller, but we're good. So I'm gonna do, this is the build. Actually, let me do one more thing on video. I always forget to do this on video. Let's put our M.2 SSD in. I do buy these brand new. They're so cheap brand new at this point that I'm finding that I can't really get a deal on a used one good enough to justify not just going brand new. which is too bad because if I had my choice, I would rather give buyers a used, let's say 2 terabyte. Like if I could get them for like 80 bucks or something for used 2s, I would. It's like 129 or something for a new 2, or like 55 for a new 1. And it's just one of those things that you get every now and then that buying used just doesn't make sense right now. It's the same thing with RGB fan kits. I think that what happens is that, gosh darn it, I think what happens is that they get so cheap brand new that people just can't comprehend that their used one isn't worth anything. Like right now, come on. Right now, new 12700Ks are generally cheaper than used 12700Ks. It's just stupid. It happens sometimes. Okay, so I'm going to tidy some things up, and then I will be back in front of you guys with a fully completed build and kind of how it looks, what the buyer will see in the photos, that kind of thing. So stay tuned, and we'll be right back.